Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our international talk show where we talk to authors from all over the world about their books, their ideas, their process, how they finish writing a book. A lot of us cannot finish. We have thousands of viewers who are almost done with their book but can't quite get there. Our next guest has done it, though, and let's see if I can bring him in here. Here he is, Daniel T. Hardison. Welcome, Daniel.
Donald T.
Donald.
Hardison.
We even rehearsed it before. Donald T. Hardison.
We did.
Donald.
It's nice of you to have me, Mike.
Yeah, and congratulations, by the the way. You did it.
Thank you.
You wrote a book. You got it out. Like I say, a lot of people, that's a big step,
It is.
getting it done. When did you start writing?
I actually started writing in March, and I finished it in 45 days. It took me 45 days to write this book.
Holy cow.
And it's not something that was just thrown together. It was a lifetime that I lived in the trials and tribulations that I'd gone through in life. And I knew that one day I would write a book, and when that day would come, I just went all at it. I had it written, formatted, published within like 47 days, I
Oh
think.
my goodness. Many of our viewers are years into their process. So you just had the right mindset and you did it. And it's about a
Yeah.
journey. Tell us about the book. Here's the cover. Tell us about the book, Donald.
Yes, so the book is basically about my life and the trials and tribulations that I had gone through. I was basically raised in a Christian home by loving parents and whatnot. And then next thing you know, I start to become a young man, and then the bottom of life falls out from underneath me. It's tragic. I lost my mother when I was 21 years old, father to a suicide. And then next thing you know, I'm on the verge of taking my life. And then God had a calling on my life my entire life. I mean, ever since I was a little kid, I had pastors and evangelists coming to the house, and they're saying like, you have a special call on your life. Can I pray over you? And as a little boy, it's kind of weird. It's just odd. It's just like, okay, sure, you can pray over me. But then when troubles come, you start to question God, and you start to ask him like, why did you let this happen? Like how could you let this happen? You're supposed to be a loving God. You're supposed to protect me, care for me and my family. And the next thing you know, when you cry out to him, there's no one there answering you. So it creates a lot of like, turmoil in faith, and then you have this self conflict going on inside of you, and you're wondering why is this happening to me? Is there a greater purpose for any of this? And my book goes on to tell about my story from the time I grew up to where I'm at today, and how God has actually revealed his calling to my life. I've had a divine intervention on my life. I mean, there was a point where I came to where I was near seconds from death and attempted suicide, and the divine happens. And it's an amazing story. It goes on to talk about, the time during 9/11, times during COVID. It also goes on to tell you that like, hey, like what God has done for me, that he wants to do for you. It's almost like a biblical story from the Old Testament, how God looks down on mankind and desires to walk with you, hand in hand. He desires to be a part of his people, and that he will call you to go out and to do special things, So I got to go out onto the streets. I mean, like my purpose was to go out on the streets and to just be that person of compassion to like the homeless, the widows, the orphans. I mean, it's just been an amazing, amazing journey. I mean, and God has been so gracious and so good. And I've been able to go all around the United States over and over and over again to many different cities. I mean, I've even slept under the bridges and stayed in the camps with them and whatnot. But I mean, it's been a blessing. So that's so far what my book is about.
And this book is about your journey. And
It's my personal journey.
would you think it's normal or usual for people of faith to at some point say, have doubts, giant doubts?
I think it's extremely normal. I think when, I mean, obviously the first person we're going to go to when the bottom of life falls out from underneath us is we're going to go to God.
Hmm.
And when you don't hear from God, and you don't, and you're a praying man, and you're a person of faith, and God doesn't answer you back, I mean, it's like he's the first person you want to blame,
Yeah.
and it's not his fault at all. My book also goes on to talk about the church, and how the church of today is not the church that Jesus Christ called it to be. I mean, the gospel they preached definitely is not the gospel that Jesus Christ preached, so there's a huge part of the book that talks about that. Like, I know people have been hurt by the church. They have been hurt by all kinds of things. I mean, my book is dedicated to those who have suffered loss and have gone through trials and tribulations and feel misunderstood in life, those who've gotten hurt. And to me, I think everybody has at some point in time gone through loss. They've gone through trials. They've gone through tribulations. And it's, who do you turn to? when these things happen. So.
Now you kind of answered this question. It's one of our standard questions, uh, but who should read this book? If I were to buy this book and give it as a gift, who should I be giving it to?
You can read, you could give it to anybody. I mean, it's basically a book for all ages. I mean, especially in today's age when we're dealing with suicide, that's a huge, huge epidemic that's running wild throughout the world. There's also it talks about, my mother died of leukemia, cancer. I mean, anybody can read this book. I mean, there's not a set age limit on it. I mean, there's nothing X-rated in it at all.
Yeah.
It's basically my story of me pouring out my heart to the world.
Yeah, I think one theme that comes up in this show a lot is that some people think that they're the first to go through this crisis, this loss or the type of loss. But many people have gone before you, and maybe this book could serve as sort of a guide as somebody who's been through some loss and how you came out the other end.
It's actually my hope. I mean, I know that like I'm not the first person, I'm not the only person that's ever gone through anything like this, but to be able to like just basically tear off the facade and say, here I am, it's my hopes that it would help everybody because not everybody wants to talk about what they've gone through. A lot of people are almost embarrassed by what they're going through and they'll sweep that under a rug or put it into a closet and not want to talk about it. But I was able to actually just bare my soul and say, this is the story, this is the truth, this is what I went through, so I understand your pain well. And for many people on the streets that I spoke to, they could feel that, they could sense that, and they knew that what was happening was even greater than both of us. They were like, God had sent you to me just for that purpose. And a lot of people feel like they're a burden to other people. They don't want to tell their story because they're scared of what others might think, or they might feel like, hey, nobody's going to want me around after I tell them my story, and that's still not the case. I mean, to me, I think everybody's story matters. Everybody's lives, their lives matter. I mean, God has given us a story. I mean, whether it be of hardship or whether it be of, prosperity. I mean, we all have a story and we should all share it one with another. I mean, that's what helps us cope in life.
You're very
So,
brave for doing this, by the way. And
thank you. Thank you.
and by the way, uh, suicide is touching a lot of us. I don't know if it's just now we're finding out about it more, if it was always there, or if it's a new trend. But yeah, there's just touching all of us so much.
Yeah, I think it's become more mainstream than what anybody could have ever imagined. I mean, and suicide doesn't claim you at a certain age. It comes at any second of the day. And if we look at the numbers now, most of them now are teenagers, or especially around like the holidays when people don't have enough money to buy things for their family. I mean, and they start to feel like, they're not good enough. I mean, it's tragic, but I mean, suicide is happening every single day. I think they say we lose one life every minute here in the United States due to a suicide. I mean, the numbers are just staggering.
Well, this is, I'm going to read this book. For one, this is a type of book that I like to read. But for our viewers, if you have not been touched by a tragic loss or a tragedy, buckle up because you're going to. It happens to all of us. Eventually, we're going to lose a parent or someone close to us. So I like to get books like this. I like to give them away. I like to read them. But go and don't order one. Order 5 of these things. Have them on hand, and there'll always be somebody in your life that you'll be happy you gave them this book, and they'll be happy that you gave it to them. Donald, I almost did it again. Donald T. Hardison. Last thought, we're way past time. I could talk to you all day, though. Last thoughts for our viewers? Anything you want to tell our viewers or the world, or anything you want to say in
Yeah,
general?
my last thought to you is like, hey, I mean, if you're going through trials and you're going through tribulations, don't give up. Keep pressing through that. Your blessing is waiting for you on the other side. And even if you don't know this or not, other people are watching you and your life matters. Your story matters. And please do what you can to share it with as many people as possible, because at the end of the day, you'll be glad you did.
Daniel, where can they get the Donald T. Hardison? Where can they get this book?
They can get it. It's available online at Amazon, Ingram Sparks, Barnes and Nobles, Google Play, Kobo, Apple Books.
Donald, do you have another book in you?
I do have one. It's coming. I'm going to be working on it soon.
Yeah, I hope it comes smooth and as fast, and or any way it comes. Good for you, and congratulations. Thanks for being so brave, and I think this book is going to help other people.
I think so too. I pray it does.
All right, Donald T. Hardison, thank you so much. And for our viewers, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more authors right after this.